So, Rob, a great one today talking about coach-player communication. And then here's the caveat, coach, player, and parent communication.
Interesting.
So when I say coach-player communication, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts, and I think we would agree on those. Maybe not. Maybe there's some deeper stuff to dive into. But when I say coach, player, and parent communication, I'm going to leave it at that. Go, what does good look like? Start with coach, player, and then go coach, player, parent.
So I think coach-player communication, there needs to be a lot of transparency and trust. But I think that's not one-on-one to start out. I think that is building a relationship where, I mean, what I say, the kid means what they say, and we build trust by following through.
Transactional.
The transactional piece of the relationship. I think that's where trust is built initially and allows for conversations to happen with the hard stuff one-on-one when you have a foundation of trust where you both do what you say. I think the foundation of that in difficult times is to be able to speak honestly to each other and be able to walk out of the room with a mutual understanding. And some of that I don't think should be that hard for a coach. Are you really going to be that surprised if a kid is upset they're not playing or they got beat out or whatever it may be? I don't think there should be a surprise on that conversation. And I don't think coaches should be surprised that they have to have it, but inevitably they do. How does this kid not know? Well, they don't. Self-evaluation is one of the hardest things to do out there. So that's the first thing that pops to mind on coach-player communication. When you add the parent in, I'll start with two initial thoughts. One, I think there used to be a train of thought, and I had as a coach, where this is between me and the kid, that the parent is out of the loop, almost seen as an adversary. And I don't think it has to be like that. I think you can communicate on certain things with parents to make them feel in the loop on what's going on, which is great, and not a bad thing at all. I think where it gets hard is when parents start calling to complain about X, Y, and Z. And often, not always, when they're complaining, it's because of what their kid is telling them. So again, as a college AD, and I think this is different when you're talking minors, if you're a high school or whatever it may be. But as a college AD, I used to try to shield kids from their parents when I thought the parent was acting a bit crazy. I don't do that as much anymore because I think what fuels the parent's perspective is what the kid is telling them. And what you have to discern there, and where I think the player needs to realize, is you should be able to vent to your parents, but no, all parents love their kids so dearly that their initial reaction is going to be to defend often. So I think a kid has to own that and understand that when they're over 18 years old. And I think there's a duty of the coach or the AD or whatever it is of when a parent calls to loop the kid in. The only time I don't is when it's so minor I can have the conversation and it's done. When a parent calls, or I'm like, yeah, we might have screwed up here. I need to see what's going on a little bit more before I loop the kid in. So those are my thoughts.
Go back to the first one. Earlier you said that initially you said that a coach would talk to a player and be able to not be surprised if they're upset with playing time or something of the ordinary, and that actually that would go okay. So I think in the language we use, and I don't know if we've done a podcast on this yet or not, but on embracing difficult conversations, that when done well, what actually happens is that the coach or the boss or the
builds trust,
trust and authority, right? You walk out and you say, okay, even if I disagree, man, there's trust that was built there and there's authority because that was handled, that was done the right way. Listening happened, proper engagement, the ability to share platforms for that. So start with that though. How many coaches, give me a percentage. How many coaches do you think are hired high school, college on, they really know, they have a good grasp of their sport, the X's and O's. They have the passion. Maybe they were a good player, but they've never really sat down in that setting and had and done that well. Would you say it's over 50%?
That have done that well or haven't done that well?
That come into a new coaching role.
Yeah.
Okay. and they have never really done that well. Or
I'd say well over 50.
Yeah.
I think they'd say they had as an assistant, but
no way.
Being an ear to a player as an assistant, saying, have you thought of this? Very different than being the head coach having that conversation.
So let's go on a small tangent. So when hiring new coaches, hiring new people into leadership, and I loved my first bosses, right? And they were for me and they did a great job. I don't ever remember, right, any formal type of education or training on, hey, let's talk about what good looks like here. Actually learn that when you're in the middle of the mess, right? Of like, well, hey, okay, now that we're in it, be a good listener or try to do these things. And, we're humans and we're emotional and we're competitive. So what should we do when we hire a new coach? What should that look like? And talk about rehearsing or role playing.
Yeah, I think that's hard because me and you with ICP, we talk about it. It's something we obviously think is important. But I wouldn't say in our athletic department, we do a great job of that.
Yeah.
So I think one is recognizing its importance. Me and you have talked about it. We actually did it with assistant coach training this year where we had them role play conversations.
Yeah.
And it's awkward. People hate it, but it's as close as you can to getting in that moment.
Yeah.
So I think we want to look at how does that play out. It's something I think a lot about in the hiring process where I try to ask some questions of tell me about a time if they dealt with it, or also questions that I know are going to be hard to answer and raise the heat and then see how they react.
Yeah.
Because if their reaction is just to start talking and blabbering, that makes me a little nervous.
Or become defensive.
Yeah. Or if their reaction is to let me sit back and think about it for a bit, I kind of like that because at least there's something built in of, you know what, I just don't have to blurt out the first thing that comes to my mind and go on the offensive. But I wouldn't say we've done that well. And when I look at my experiences, all the AD and coaching friends I have, it's this stuff that makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
And thinking you know it all and shouldn't be trained sinks you, but especially just not preparing for that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something I live in fear of a coach having a moment they can't come back from.
Yeah.
So
talk about on that note, tell me that I'm looking for affirmation here. I continue to say as I speak all over the country, the thing I continue to learn about humans is that they're incredibly human.
Yeah.
And more than once this year, last year, with you, the list goes on. There have been things that you miss.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways you have, I'll oversimplify it. You can play defense or play offense. And I hope it's a sign of maturity, but I've said to my guys, or I've said, you and I know this just a week ago, hey, sorry, you're right. Man, we should have had these things ordered. These should have been in. Or
right, you should have.
And honestly to say, hey, I suck at that.
Yeah. Well, I think to your credit, I say it whether you asked for affirmation 30 seconds ago or not. The value of just saying, yeah, I screwed that up.
Yeah.
And I think I know I had it, a fear as a young coach that if you don't have all the answers, you're going to look silly.
Yeah.
When it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's, man, you had the humility to apologize, say, let's figure it out. That does not make you weak at all.
Yeah.
And I hear a narrative of, oh, if I give in on this, they're going to take advantage of me on other stuff. That's just stupid. That's not true. And if it is, it's not because of that. It's because of other parts of your leadership where you have terrible people in your program.
Yeah.
But yeah, just there's such value in being human.
Yeah.
It's a lot like for older people, the example of, I don't know if I thought about it before I had kids. You see somebody's kid crying in the grocery store, you just walk by and you go, for those that go to the grocery store anymore, I mean, with the leadership. But anyways, now when I walk by a parent with a crying kid, I have empathy for them, but it kind of makes me feel good because I know I'm not the only one whose kids freak out, you know? So when you say sorry, I think there's a natural human reaction of, yeah, none of us are perfect. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Now flip it and go to, we've talked about, and would you agree with this? When you are communicating with the student, and I don't want to just say often, but effectively and often, when you are ahead of those conversations, then when it gets to a parent, you know, as coach, like, hang on, we've done this right. And this isn't new. We do this often. We set up platforms for our guys to ask questions. I say that to you to say, what does that look? What's good look like? Talk about college coaches. What does good look like in the communication? Is it once a week? Is it message boards? Is it open door policy, because I hear that a lot, right? Like I hear coaches, and by the way, I'm gonna go at some people. I think when it's like, well, I've got an open door policy, they can come right in. No, this generation isn't going to waltz up.
Yeah.
And past experience, it impacts where you're at.
Yeah.
So I think saying this is what good looks like. So I would say one-on-ones and whatnot. But the question is for you: what is good communication? Coach to player, what are some things, no matter what level you're at, these things happen?
Yeah, I agree with you on open door policy. That's a great thing to say.
Yeah.
But the kids that really need to be in there, that's hard. And I think you can't forget about the power dynamic. I mean, a coach is in an authority position and the student athlete's not. So how do you create you'll never be on the same level, but how do you force interaction where you get to know each other? And I think we actually just got done surveying a list of 50 coaches, all with 10 or more years of experience and a 70% winning percentage.
Yeah.
And it was shocking how many of them said one-on-one meetings.
Yep.
And they do less of on-court stuff, on-field stuff, or less of picket to spend time one-on-one, and it has to be forced initially.
Yeah.
And it can be even, one coach I know that finished the survey that I really admire, it's 10 minutes, and they do it once a week or once every 2 weeks. Others, they do longer. So I think that's one piece. I think it's challenging when you look at sports like a football or track with massive rosters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that comes down to really intentional pre and post practice time, how you communicate.
Yeah.
And really goes back to, we write about in the book all the time, systems of care. It's a system of how do you do this well to break down those communication walls.
I know the first one-on-ones I had, I was fearful that when I asked the question, what do you want more of, less of, different, brand new? I was like, how many pages of notes would I have to take? I believe in those settings, especially when consistent, players will be pretty honest with you.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they're going to go on some toxic unload on that. I think they'll pick the one or two and there'll be through lines, meaning if it's real, they won't be the only one to say it. You'll uncover and unveil some things that can be better.
I think it takes some work. I agree they'll say it, but I think it takes time. And like I get frustrated in my work with coaches, how long it takes to, come on, be honest with me. Give me something, So I think it takes consistency. And I think there's a piece, and this is where I think it can get a little delicate, there's an old saying of don't ask for advice unless you're going to listen and do something about it. Mm-hmm. So making sure you have enough actionable things, because some of them are going to be silly, that you're not going to do anything you're going to disagree with. But you also don't want to tell them they're idiots, and you need enough things that you can say, yeah, I heard you. Here's what we did. So I think there's some balance there.
Yeah. Okay. So now go to the parent. Every coach, if you've done it long enough, you will get a parent that calls and says, hey, I heard, or I was told, or why isn't this? I'm going to give my first reaction. And then you go. When that happens, I used to want to pick up the phone immediately and let's hash this out. Let's get down. As I've grown in that, I'm finding, well, hang on, they're either just blatantly lying, or the communication that I just had with that player, yesterday or 2 days ago about, hey, here's where I think your role is going in this game, or at this point in the season, that was communicated very differently to the parent, or there's just incredible disagreement. Yeah. So I have, instead of picking up the phone or firing that email back to the parent, my first is immediately with the player to say, hey, and I read it or put down, hey, this is what I've heard. Hey, did I miss something? Because that was different between us. I'd say a large percentage of the time, the player's been like, Coach, I am so sorry. Hey, I'll take care of it. Yeah. I'll take, and then it's never an issue again. And, or it is what you just said, maybe some more time where it's like, well, we don't agree with that. And then it's like, okay, we're going to have to agree to disagree. Yeah. If it has got to the parent on the phone, right? Or the parent in that controlled setting, face to face, and I would say 99% it's on the phone. One, it's been, okay, let's be a good listener. Let's make sure the things that we're saying, here's the truthful things that are happening, not I heard or I assume, what are those? And then the ability to give back. Hey, you know what? You're right. Or I missed that, or that wasn't my intent. And then in with resolute. Okay, here's where we're at moving forward. Or can you guys be okay with that? Can he or she be okay with that? And if not, we may have to break ties here. And That's reality. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Add to that, debate it.
I think a couple things. I think in that initial call, I think time is your friend.
Good.
So letting things de-escalate a little bit.
Yeah.
I always felt pressure. Let's call back right away and try to resolve it. Certain things I'm learning, a couple days might be okay. Or like, hey, why don't you come and meet with me next week, and give space for people to calm down, because emotion clouds judgment, and loving our kids clouds our judgment. And I think being a parent has helped me with some of this.
Yeah.
But I agree in going to the player. And I think it's a very significant red flag when, don't tell my kid I'm calling,
Yeah.
well, this is all of us. And I also become an advocate for call the kid in and let's put your parent on speaker and let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because there's usually more to the story. And I think the more we can build common ground where it's not me versus you, because there's probably an element of truth in all of it, where the coaches come. I don't think a coach is out to get kids, you know? And quite frankly, I don't think most kids are out to have a bad experience or be mad. Some are, and you can look at their history and all that kind of stuff. But so let's sit down and talk this out.
Yeah.
And I had a kid in my office in the last month where nice kid, but got some stuff in his head. I'm like, hey, I've never known a coach to play the worst player just because they liked him more. They're either the better players, they're not following the rules or whatever it may be. So you need to go have a conversation.
Yeah.
And those are my kind of thoughts.
No, good. Well, again, if you've done this for more than a day, you're going to have all different types of conversations with players.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to have a parent or two or someone outside of that team. And so I think being prepared, I love the time as your friend.
Yeah.
And, I would say the 24-hour rule, as you said, it's like, you know what? I don't think it's just restricted to 24 hours.
Yeah.
A couple of those days are good.
Tell me your thoughts, flip that before we're done, on your coach. Talk to the ADs that are listening. What do you want out of an AD in those scenarios, whether they're involved or not? Like, how do you want to work with your boss in that regard? Asking for a friend.
Yeah. I think regardless, but let's assume, right, that we're not talking about behavior that's in any way out of bounds. Okay. Baseline. I would like an AD to support me and challenge me. Right. Okay. Hey, looking back on this, well, could you have done that? Well, why didn't you have that convo? Did you say that? And not just a blanket, hey, you're great, they're crazy. Right. Because I don't think you say it all the time. There's a kernel of truth probably somewhere in there. And
our monthly shout out to Joel Kaufman.
And but the other part of that is, regardless of the situation, don't we want to learn, elevate, be better the next time? So how do we do that? And if I'm missing it, I want my AD to say, no, get this done. No, you own it and let's go. Like, move forward. Like, you need to do what you need to do on the communication piece there. I also want to know if there's blind spots that I'm missing.
Yeah.
Was I not proactive enough with the athlete? And I think you and I get this a bunch. We get it from some of our coaching friends. Man, you guys are soft. Man, you guys are, I keep saying that almost 20 years of coaching, I've never been harder on players. I don't think I've ever been more honest with parents. I don't think we're soft. There is a time where it's like, hey, this is a no-win, right? Yeah. You need to have this. And I want that too, because I am guilty. And I think coaches are guilty, especially when that player's really talented. They can go get you a W, to say, hey, no, it's time for someone else to try and lead that individual. We need to put things into action and then move.
As you were talking, I was thinking about kind of the evolution of our relationship and our skills over time, because that's a place I think I've gotten more assertive. Is, hey, I don't care how good they are. I've seen so many red flags. You need to find an exit ramp with this kid. And I'm thinking about too, not to embarrass you. I mean, we were great friends, coaching friends, before I became your boss.
Correct.
And I remember the first time I got a complaint at our past institution about you, and we were friends, and I thought pretty close, and you still panicked more than you would now, And I just think, even if you're friends with each other, there's some, I hate using the term boss,
absolutely,
subordinate, whatever the word is.
Absolutely.
There is trust that has to be built up within that specific relationship.
And I think if it's not, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we are good friends, been friends for a long time, we'll be friends for a long time. But there are absolute settings where it's yes, sir, yes, but I mean, I've got that hat on, good, bad, right, or wrong, and you don't operate like that.
And your judgment's always good. I just,
hope so.
But I think even how we navigate those conversations, I probably got better at it. But I think you've probably gotten better, but I think it's more we've been through it enough over the years in these roles that there's trust that wasn't there initially.
Yes.
And I remember that first one, I was like, oh crap, how do I help without him thinking I'm coming after him?
Sure.
And you're probably thinking, oh crap, is my friend going to fire me? And none of those were true.
Correct.
But I just think it feels important to say this. Within the roles, it takes some time to build up trust too.
Okay, I'm gonna key on one thing that you're talking about. As a coach, don't put yourself in situations where the narrative is, where you open yourself to a narrative to get to parents and others of something that's egregious, even if it's not, i.e., so this story we're talking about, you and I, really think hard when you've played a game 4 hours earlier and you get home at 1 a.m. in the morning and you have everybody put their gear back on and you quote condition or whatever and run to quote, get better. That is a situation where, like, I mean, if that doesn't go really well, I mean, you're opening it up. So maybe a different topic sometime, but like, I would also say
it's fake tough stuff.
That is, it's coach getting, feeling like, I don't know what it is. It's, it's immature is what it is. Hey, thanks for that conversation.
Good
Coaches,
stuff.
communicate with players effectively, rehearse, role play, how to do difficult conversations well. You gain trust and authority. Learn to communicate with players to parents and coach to parents. And I love what you said. I think time's your friend.
And we didn't cover a lot of this on the parent side in our book, but a lot of the difficult conversations, they could buy our book too and read about it.
Love it. Shameless plug. Thanks. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond Coaching. Beyond Coaching is a podcast developed and produced by the Impactful Coaching Project with the support of Friends University. The Impactful Coaching Project seeks to develop coaches that coach the whole person and is the thought leader in coaching the 21st century athlete. The Impactful Coaching Project produces training, information, and research to help coaches improve. To see more information, go to impactfulcoachingproject.substack.com. Thank you.